Apocalypse Delivery Driver. Chapter 1. Looking at my reflection in the mirror, flawless features, a gorgeous face, and a killer figure, then glancing at Circles, my 18-pound chonk of a cat who ate like she was training for the Olympics, I made my decision. I dumped all the cat food onto the floor, the kibble bouncing and scattering across the hardwood with a sound like hail on a tin roof. Water sloshed into every pot and bowl I could find, my hands shaking so badly that half of it splashed onto the counter. I emptied all the litter boxes against the wall, the ammonia smell sharp enough to burn my nostrils. Still not enough. I added every snack and piece of meat in the house to the pile on the floor, the leftover rotisserie chicken from Sunday, the pepperoni that was supposed to be for pizza night, even the fancy tuna I'd been saving for a special occasion that would never come. Okay, Circles. This should keep you alive for another 500 years. My voice cracked on the last word. As for me? To avoid getting so hungry, I'd murder my own cat, and to die with dignity, maintaining a beautiful face and perfect body, instead of wasting away into something unrecognizable, I decided to go out on my own terms. Mom, Dad, if you got bitten, I'll see you soon. I shouted to the empty apartment, my voice echoing off the walls. Then I touched the framed photo on the mantle, the three of us at my college graduation, Mom crying happy tears, Dad with his arm around my shoulders before jumping out my first-floor window. Yes, first floor. Sure, it wasn't high, but I still jumped with the dramatic conviction of a tragic heroine making her final stand. Chapter 2. Holy crap! The disgusting zombies outside still scared the hell out of me. The stench hit me first, rotting meat mixed with something metallic and sweet, like spoiled fruit left in the sun. I squeezed my eyes shut and shakily extended my arm toward a highly decomposed, mobile corpse. Its skin hung in gray-green strips, revealing bone beneath. More zombies shuffled closer, their feet dragging across the pavement with a wet scraping sound. I felt a slight sting on my arm. Oh my God, I'd been bitten. The zombies' teeth had barely broken the skin more of a pinch than the tearing, ripping agony I'd expected. Suddenly, I wasn't as scared anymore. I opened my eyes. Okay, still pretty terrified. Zombies were revolting, but at least it was over now. I'd turn soon, and then I wouldn't have to be afraid anymore. After the bite, the zombies slowly dispersed, leaving me sitting alone on the ground. The concrete was cold against my legs, rough under my palms. At least I hadn't peed myself facing this real-life zombie apocalypse. My dignity as a beautiful woman remained intact. Though sitting on the apartment complex pavement, my dignity wasn't exactly stellar. Why though? I muttered to myself, examining the shallow bite mark. 2 perfect crescents of broken skin, barely bleeding. Why just a light nibble? Aren't zombies supposed to tear people apart until they turn into one of them, standing up all mangled and broken? Was it because I was such a hopeless romantic that even zombies wouldn't eat me? No way. I'd never even had a boyfriend, and now zombies wouldn't even give me a proper bite? What the hell? Whatever. I'll be joining them soon anyway. These creepy things will be my coworkers in the great slacker afterlife. Death wasn't scary. So many people had already died. One more wouldn't matter. But I was afraid of pain. Luckily, the zombie bite didn't hurt much, so now I had nothing left to fear. I sat on the ground, waiting to turn. Occasionally, a few zombies passed by, paused briefly in front of me close enough that I could see their milky eyes, smell the decay on their breath, then moved on. 30 minutes. I checked my watch, the second hand ticking away my last moments of humanity. 1 hour. I wiped my forehead, surprised to find myself still sweating. Did zombies sweat? 2 hours. Why haven't I turned yet? My outburst startled a few zombies. They looked at me blankly with their dead eyes, heads tilting at unnatural angles, then continued on their way. Wait, am I immune? I was stunned by my own realization, but what other explanation was there? Chapter 3. So I boldly wove through the zombies and made my way to the convenience store downstairs. The automatic doors hung open, glass crunching under my shoes. The owner had already turned missing an eyeball, the other one gray and staring straight at me through the service window. Creepy as hell. I brazenly grabbed tons of snacks, the plastic wrappers crinkling in the eerie silence. Meat from the coolers that were starting to warm up, vegetables that were still mostly fresh. I loaded everything into a shopping basket, then headed home. Circles poked her confused little head out from under the bed, staring at me like, "Why are you back so soon?" I haven't finished all the food yet. Stupid cat. All she cared about was eating. I gave her the stink eye, put the meat and human food back in the fridge, flopped onto my bed, the mattress sighing under me, and finished yesterday's leftover fried chicken while drinking the milk I'd just looted. Outside, zombies and corpses everywhere. Inside, fried chicken and milk, living the dream. I dozed off and dreamed I was drowning in a deep lake. Endless water rushed into my mouth and nose. I was suffocating, desperately swimming upward, but never reaching the surface. My lungs burned, my limbs grew heavy, and just when I thought I'd give up and sink, the intense survival instinct in my dream triggered something in me. A warm current flowed through my entire body, tingling, buzzing, like electricity racing through my veins, and power surged into my limbs. Heat flooded my muscles. I swam faster and faster. Suddenly, I opened my eyes. Circles was licking my face with her sandpaper tongue, and sweat had soaked my pillow, leaving a damp cold spot under my head. Stupid cat, at least she cared about me. Seeing I was awake, Circles jumped off the bed and returned to eating and drinking. I noticed my body felt different. I easily lifted the entire refrigerator, a full-size unit that should have weighed 200 pounds, with one hand. My body felt incredibly light, like I could jump 3 or 4 stories high. My senses were razor sharp. I could hear a clock ticking 3 rooms away, smell the rot from the corpse on the street below. And my eyes had changed from black to pale amber, like a wolf's eyes. My skin had gone from healthy and rosy to an unhealthy, sickly pale, the color of skim milk. I stood in front of the mirror, touching my face, still beautiful, still me, but also not. I'd still turned into a zombie, just one with consciousness who didn't crave biting people. Yet, the thought sent a chill down my spine. What if this was just a delay? What if tomorrow I'd wake up mindless and hungry? What if I hurt someone? No, I pushed the thought away. This was perfect. I was basically the walking cure. Excellent. Lilah Jensen could continue her slacker lifestyle. But late at night, when I couldn't sleep, I'd stare at my pale hands and wonder, how long did I have before I lost myself completely? Chapter 4. Life went on. With my immunity to bites, I resumed my daily routine of doing absolutely nothing. Now Circles weighed 20 pounds and had developed ringworm red, crusty patches on her ears. Damn cat, getting sick at a time like this. Grumbling, I pushed a shopping cart from downstairs, the wheels squeaking and wobbling over debris. I was searching for a pet store. Need ringworm medicine, I muttered, entering a pet shop where a few zombies were huddled together, gnawing on something that used to be human. The wet tearing sounds, the crack of bones, I didn't bother looking closely. I'd been watching zombies eat people for a month now. At first, I'd throw up and scream, but now? Not necessary. If I wasn't used to it by now, I'd just be dramatic. Ignoring the zombies, I started clearing out the pet store's inventory. If this were before, I could never have afforded all this. But now, the pet store was mine for the taking. I navigated through obstacles and pushed 2 fully loaded carts home, my superhuman strength making the load feel weightless. Circle's eyes lit up when she saw me, as if saying, "Dear owner, you're finally home. What delicious treats did you bring me?" To successfully apply her ringworm medicine, I bribed her with a can of premium wet food, the fancy salmon pâté she loved. Greedy cat, she'd do anything for fancy food. After dealing with that, I was hungry too. Can't cook, don't have any cooking tools, so I opened a self-heating rice packet from a few days ago. The chemical heat pack hissed and warmed up, filling the air with a plasticky smell. I peeled back the lid to reveal the contents: gray beef in grainy rice, already congealing at the edges. Ugh, so gross. I wanted hot, delicious beef and lamb. Living without good food like this, I might as well have let the zombies kill me. But as I chewed the rubbery meat, I felt my teeth sharpen slightly, my jaw strengthen. My body was changing, bit by bit. Each meal felt like practice for something I didn't want to think about. What if one day, self-heating rice wasn't enough? What if I started craving something fresher? I looked at my hands, pale, strong, inhuman, and quickly looked away. After eating, I finally decided to do something productive. Being a total slacker was boring. I'd been doing nothing for a whole month. And if I stayed inside with only my thoughts, I'd drive myself crazy wondering when the monster would take over completely. Chapter 5. Does anyone need supplies? $1,000 for a case of self-heating rice. My productive activity was yelling through a megaphone, my voice echoing through the silent complex. A few zombies gathered below. What were they going to do? They couldn't bite me anyway. At least, they hadn't tried yet. Sometimes I wondered if they sensed something different about me, something that made me one of them, just conscious enough to not be lunch. No response from the buildings. No response. No response. Is everyone dead? The apocalypse had made money useless, but it would end eventually, right? Why not use my ability to make some cash now and stockpile it? Small apartment to mansion. But apparently, no one was giving me that opportunity. Building 31, Unit 1000, 131. I'll buy 100 boxes. A booming voice with a thick accent rang out, immediately attracting zombies running toward the sound. I watched them sprint faster than I'd seen before. Were they evolving too? I had a customer. So exciting. Coming right up. I pushed my cart to the nearest big box store, the journey taking me past abandoned cars and shopping carts tipped on their sides. A child's pink bicycle lay in the gutter, rust already creeping across its frame. I didn't drive because I didn't know how, and I hadn't found any mobility scooters nearby. The store's automatic doors had died weeks ago, leaving them frozen half open. Inside, the air was thick and still, smelling of rotting produce and something sweet-sick that I tried not to identify. The first cart held only 30-some boxes, but thanks to my zombie-enhanced stamina, I managed 3 trips and piled over 100 boxes at the base of Building 31. "Hey, I'm here," I shouted up. 2 minutes later, the door cracked open just an inch. "Are you human or ghost?" The man peeked out, his head appearing through the gap. He was way taller than me, but apparently had way less courage. His eyes were bloodshot, his face gaunt. "I'm definitely human, sir. Apocalypse delivery driver. Here are your 100+ boxes of self-heating rice. Please pay up." Human enough, I thought, but didn't say. "All right, help me carry them upstairs first." "You got it." Thank God the power system hadn't completely failed. 10 minutes later, we took the elevator and got everything up to the 11th floor. The building's hallway smelled like mildew and fear, that sharp, acrid scent of people too terrified to open their windows. The man pulled out about 1,000 in cash crisp bills that felt strange in this new world. "I don't have that much money at home, but I've saved up a lot of gold. Can I pay you in gold?" I thought about it. Gold was eternal currency. Not a bad deal. I nodded. He went inside and came back with 10 full gold bars, each one catching the dim emergency lighting. My eyes practically glowed. "Holy crap, big spender!" The man's eyes welled up as he ordered 10 more bottles of water, giving me a total of 20 gold bars. Each one was heavy and warm in my hands, solid and real in a way that nothing else was anymore. "Thank you so much. Without you, my family would have killed ourselves. When the pandemic ends, if you need anything, just say the word. You saved our lives." His gratitude made my throat tight. I wasn't a savior, I was a monster playing human. But I smiled and accepted anyway, because what else could I do? He invited me inside. The luxury interior made sense, of course. Someone who casually handed over 20 gold bars would live like this. He and his wife lived there alone, and the lavish decor cream carpets, crystal chandelier contrasted sharply with just the two of them huddled in this gilded cage. First time I'd seen a grown man cry like that. Kind of awkward. "Sir, if there's nothing else, I should go." I declined their dinner invitation, but took their elevator card and keys for future deliveries, then headed home with my 20 heavy gold bars, each one a reminder that I was still useful, still human enough to matter. Chapter 6. Another beautiful morning, or it would be, if the sky wasn't the same dead gray it had been for weeks. I went out as usual to find supplies and food, dropping off some provisions for Mr. Gold Bar in 1131. When I was leaving, he sheepishly gave me another gold bar. Oh my God, long live Mr. Gold Bar and his gold bars. Back home, I suddenly felt how boring the apocalypse was. It had just started, but I had no boyfriend, no internet, no parents. Thinking about my parents made me cry. I pulled out my phone, dead and useless, and stared at the last photo I'd taken of them. Dad making his terrible joke face, Mom laughing. Had they gotten out of the city for their anniversary trip before the outbreak? Or had they been at home? Were they? I couldn't finish the thought. Circles came over and rubbed against me affectionately. She'd gotten fatter, close to breaking the 20-pound threshold. Sometimes I wondered if she was actually a Maine Coon instead of a ragdoll. This was terrible. In the pandemic, I didn't even have games or downloaded shows to watch. Wait, what if someone else did? Anyone have an extra phone with offline games and downloaded shows? We'll trade for instant noodles and bottled water. I shouted through my megaphone, desperate for anything to keep my mind occupied, to stop thinking about my parents and what I was becoming. I do. 23rd floor, Unit 1. 25th floor, Unit 2. Oh my God, ever since Mr. Goldbar bravely broke the ice, everyone else had gotten braver too. I had no idea so many people in the complex were still alive. Don't worry, take your time. I'll come by from you. Get everything ready, and I'll visit each of you. After a busy half day though, I didn't really know what exhaustion felt like anymore. I felt like I should be tired. It was 5 p.m. now. Theoretically, I shouldn't know the time since I'd smashed my phone on the first day of the outbreak, but now, looking at the 23 brand new phones on my bed, I started cackling. Today I'll binge my shows. Tomorrow different shows. The day after watch classic TV. What's it like owning 23 new phones? As the apocalypse's #1 collector, let me tell you, it's freaking awesome. Chapter 7. Of course, I wasn't a con artist. The neighbors were all thrilled after all. They'd traded useless phones for precious water and instant noodles during the apocalypse. That was incredibly valuable for every family. And I hadn't forgotten Mr. Goldbar. I pushed a whole cart of self-heating rice to my first big client. Since instant noodles were cheaper than rice, big spenders needed the good stuff. Occasional gifts and flattery would increase my favorability rating with my patron. Today, both Mr. Goldbar and his wife answered the door. Mrs. Goldbar seemed shy, looking at me cautiously with red-rimmed eyes. Despite being older than me, I somehow seemed more mature or maybe just more dead inside. She was absolutely stunning. I'd been impressed the first time we met, and I still was. Even with the marks of time and stress, beautiful people stayed beautiful. Time never defeated true beauty. I don't know what kind of children you'll have, you're gorgeous. She invited me in with the cart, and I kept staring at her, making her uncomfortable. My sincere compliment immediately brought us closer. My son, he's about your age. He went far away. I don't know if he'll ever come back. Her eyes reddened, tears threatening to spill. I looked at her sympathetically, not knowing what to say. In the apocalypse, far away probably meant dead. Everyone knew it, but no one said it. Ma'am, you're joking. Your son can't be my age. You don't look more than a few years older than me. I'm 23. Are you even 26? I teased, trying to lighten the mood. You sweet child, I'm 52. A whole generation older than you. You should call me auntie. How can you say that? You look so young. Don't tell me after the apocalypse that you're actually 19. I'd be really mad if a 9-year-old was pretending to be older this whole time. We both laughed. The sound strange and fragile in the quiet apartment. We chatted and became fast friends despite the age gap. She reluctantly saw me out and asked me to call her Bea, since her last name was Beaumont and close friends liked calling her that. Later, Mr. Goldbar, who I learned was named Arthur Castellano, told me their son wasn't just gone like I'd imagined. He was serving at the military base. They spoke with such pride, explaining that their son's last name was Castellano, and he was the youngest colonel at the base. We chatted a bit more, but I wanted to get home and play games, so I said goodbye to Arthur and Bea. Plus, the longer I stayed around people, the more I noticed my heightened senses, their heartbeats, the warmth of their blood under their skin. Better to leave before I started thinking about things I shouldn't. As I left, Arthur waved his hands frantically, looking pained. Please, no more of that beef self-heating rice. I'm so sick of it. Just change the flavor, anything else. Do you have a vendetta against cows? I laughed awkwardly. I'd tried to suck up to my patron, but totally failed. Guess I needed to diversify the menu next time. But Bea was now my friend, my only female friend I could talk to. Did that mean I couldn't keep extracting resources from Arthur's family? How annoying. After realizing this problem, I went out and found more supplies, pushing them home in 5 carts. Perfect. Tomorrow's delivery materials secured. Chapter 8. Time flew by. 4 months into the apocalypse, the weather gradually turned cooler. I could feel it less than normal people. My zombie body temperature regulated differently, but I saw it in the frost on windows, the way people's breath fogged in the hallways. Zombies still roamed below, but all the survivors in our complex relied solely on me for supplies. In this zombie-infested world full of danger, our complex was absolutely thriving. I felt incredibly accomplished. Every household had supplies, and there was none of the backstabbing, moral decay, or twisted humanity you'd read about in novels. Of course, this was thanks to me. Pushing through hordes of zombies who parted for me like I was Moses and they were the Red Sea, I returned home with a sack full of gold, silver, jewelry, and cash, dreaming of becoming the richest woman in the city after the zombie apocalypse ended. Oh right, I'd moved into the complex's villa area. Arthur had a villa he didn't live in. He preferred the high-rise and just gave it to me. To prove it was real, he even wrote a deed stating he'd transfer the villa to my name once the apocalypse ended. I now had harmonious neighborly relations and a thriving business. I had everything except romance. This was amazing. My life was colorful, big house, lazy cat, food, harmonious neighbors. I was winning at life. I'd even figured out a clever method. I tied a large chunk of rotting beef to the back of my car, luring zombies away from the complex area. The smell was overwhelming like roadkill mixed with sewage, but it worked. Next were the zombies inside the complex. With half a pig carcass, I went floor by floor through every building, working a full day and night to lure all the zombies from inside the complex 5 kilometers away. Watching the zombie horde gnawing on rotten meat through the rearview mirror, I shuddered. Those things were terrifying. If I'd become one of them... Oh wait, I already was one of them, just the prettiest one. Hehehe. The zombie bite had mutated my genes somehow, giving me superhuman stamina, immunity to infection, and incredible strength. Even after working day and night, I didn't feel tired. But at night, alone in the villa, I'd wake up from dreams where I was the one tearing into flesh, where my reflection in the mirror had dead eyes and gray skin. I'd run to the bathroom and check still pale, but still me, still conscious, still human enough. After luring the zombies away, I quickly returned to the complex, closed the gates, and worked with several handy residents to fortify the perimeter. We welded bars, stacked cars, created a fortress. Our complex had achieved zombie-free status. Chapter 9. Over the next week, I taught myself to drive surprisingly easy when you had superhuman reflexes and brought all the nearby cars to barricade the complex entrance, so tightly that even flies couldn't get in. Impenetrable. I was so proud. I picked up my delivery megaphone. Recently, I'd noticed zombies were becoming less sensitive to my voice, so I could shout as much as I wanted without worry. Dear friends and neighbors, I've cleared the zombies to 5 kilometers away. Your movement range has expanded from inside your homes to inside the buildings. But please, please, please don't leave the buildings. Zombies are very sensitive to human scent. They might slowly migrate back here. But the good news is the complex is safe now, so everyone can relax a bit. I believe the apocalypse will end soon. One window opened, giving me a thumbs up. Then a few more windows opened sporadically. Finally, all the windows opened. Countless thumbs appeared. The apocalypse was a silent, merciless world, but heaven might be merciless, yet humans had compassion. Even during the apocalypse, humanity wasn't completely lost or beyond saving. Arthur's window revealed a handwritten banner in beautiful calligraphy, 6 big words. Thank you, hero. Chapter 10. Those 6 simple words conveyed all their gratitude. My eyes grew moist. I'd never been a hero before, never been praised like this. At first, I'd just been a greedy slacker profiting from them, a monster pretending to be their savior, but people held me in such high regard. I stared at the banner, at all those windows full of grateful faces, and felt my throat tighten. I didn't deserve this. Any day now, I might lose control. Any day, I might wake up and not be me anymore. What would happen to them then? I felt a bit ashamed. I'd only taken their payment and done what I could, yet everyone treated me like a hero. I wasn't grateful for the apocalypse giving me a good reputation. I just hoped it would end so people could live safely in the sunlight again, and before I turned into the monster I was afraid of becoming. Looking at the people in the windows, I decided to protect them for as long as I still could. I wasn't a savior the country was, but I would maintain the harmony this complex had worked so hard to build. If only the apocalypse would end soon. Then families could reunite, people could stand openly in sunlight, visit friends and relatives normally, work regular jobs with normal schedules. And maybe I could find a cure before anyone discovered what I really was. My eyes grew slightly moist as I instructed them through the megaphone. Fresh fruits and vegetables are unavailable now, but you can buy seeds and grow your own. Meat is also unavailable, most has rotted. I'll push supply carts to each building's elevator entrance daily, distributed by household count. 1 share per person, roughly water plus other instant foods. Starting from the first floor, take your supplies, then send the cart to the second floor. Second floor takes theirs and sends it to the third floor, and so on. This makes it easier for me and ensures every household gets their daily supplies. If anyone hoards supplies unfairly, you can report it during my daily 2 p.m. complex check-in by opening your window and using a megaphone. I'll personally deliver to that building. Given the dangerous situation outside, I don't think anyone would risk exposure by hoarding supplies, since I deliver daily. Anyone who reports hoarding gets triple supplies, free of charge. After that long speech, I was parched. I went to the store downstairs and grabbed a juice, the cold sweetness coating my tongue. For a moment, I wondered if zombies even needed to drink, or if this was just me clinging to human habits. I didn't care if the neighbors heard everything. I'd said my piece. During the apocalypse, I didn't want the positive atmosphere I'd worked so hard to create destroyed. Then I returned to the big villa, which felt kind of empty, probably missing a man of the house. I'd searched the whole complex and hadn't seen any hot guys. I just didn't have the destiny to meet handsome men. Chapter 11. The next morning, I cleaned out the last of that small supermarket stock, barely enough to supply the whole complex with basic provisions. I knew it was time to move on to bigger places, bigger supermarkets. At 2 p.m. sharp, I arrived at the complex entrance. Anyone hoarding supplies? No answer, no windows opening. Perfect. Exactly what I wanted. I really did feel like the complex director now. No wonder that fortune teller told me as a kid I had leadership qualities and could accomplish great things. Director was leadership too. I'm taking a big truck to the city's major supermarket now. Everyone, do not leave the complex. Do not run outside and avoid unnecessary trips. Those living on the perimeter, please watch for approaching zombies. If you see zombies, don't speak, just quietly retreat and warn your neighbors not to go out. Until I return, do not act rashly. And do not fight zombies. Remember, your life isn't worth trading for a zombie's. After saying this, I drove a large truck parked at the complex entrance to the nearest mega supermarket. The streets were eerily empty, abandoned cars with doors hanging open, shopping bags tumbling in the wind, a child's shoe in the gutter. Before, I'd have been too embarrassed to buy this much, but now I didn't have to buy anything so liberating. I pushed 4 carts, slowly moving forward, grabbing whatever was on the shelves without looking or choosing. The fluorescent lights overhead flickered and buzzed, casting strange shadows. Couldn't take rice, the power had been out for a while. No electricity meant no cooking rice. Flour and noodles were pointless too. I grabbed lots of bread, the preservatives meant some of it was still good hot dogs, chips, and loaded them into the truck. Then I went back for compressed crackers, milk, chicken legs, tea, eggs, and more. By the time I started heading home, it was 1 a.m. 1 week's worth of supplies in one truck easy. The drive back was peaceful, the truck's headlights cutting through the darkness. I'd gotten good at navigating by memory, avoiding the worst of the debris and abandoned vehicles. Chapter 12. Okay, just 2 days. The truck was already 1/3 empty. I'd seriously underestimated the consumption rate. Today, I switched to a different truck and went even farther to shop. Since I always went alone, I felt like some kind of lone wolf hero. As long as there's life, the adventure continues. At the city center supermarket, I discovered a large group of zombies clustered together. Getting closer, I saw a military squad in uniform desperately fighting off zombies. The crack of gunfire echoed off buildings, sharp and desperate. Unfortunately, there were too many they'd eventually be overrun. Their gun barrels are practically smoking, I chuckled to myself, watching the scene unfold. The leader saw me, got distracted, and shouted, "Get out of here! The zombies have formed a horde here. We can't hold out much longer, retreat." I looked back at him and my breath caught in my throat. Holy crap, what species of gorgeous man was this? More handsome than any male celebrity. Even covered in zombie blood and grime, even his military uniform couldn't hide his cold, sharp aura. His face was exquisitely perfect, strong jaw, intense eyes, dark hair plastered to his forehead with sweat. A modern military officer straight out of a romance novel, like a flower on a high peak, to be admired from afar but never approached. He was better looking than any guy I'd ever seen. But now wasn't the time to fangirl. The man shouted at me, "I'm Colonel Caspian Castellano, sent here to liberate the city. The military hasn't abandoned anyone. The lab is researching an antidote, and the army is conducting full-scale rescue operations. Safe zones have been established to protect people. If you get a chance, head there." "Colonel, last name Castellano? Wasn't that Arthur and Bea's precious son?" I immediately made the connection. Without another word, I drove the truck right in front of them, the engine roaring, temporarily scattering the horde. "Move it." Maybe because I was also part zombie because their broken, rotting brains recognized something kindred in me, the zombies actually stopped and gradually dispersed. Looking at the stunned Caspian and his squad, I quickly jumped out and pulled them into the truck. Their uniforms were soaked with sweat and blood, warm and human and alive. The others climbed into the cargo bed while Caspian took the passenger seat, his breathing heavy. "Why save me?" he asked, confused, studying my face with sharp, intelligent eyes that made me nervous. "Because you're Arthur and Bea's son," I answered honestly, trying not to stare at his profile. "Zombies fear you? Are you the zombie queen?" His voice was rough, suspicious. "Hell no, I'm not the zombie queen, though I do like that title, sounds badass. I was bitten but didn't turn into a zombie. Instead, I gained a bunch of abilities. And don't interrogate me like that, I'm your savior." His high and mighty questioning tone annoyed me a bit, even as his proximity made my heart race in a way that felt almost human. "I apologize, miss. I was too anxious," Caspian said, his voice softening. "My parents, are they okay?" "They're fine. Everything's good. I deliver supplies to them daily. I was heading out to gather supplies today, went farther than usual, and happened to run into you. If you're not in a hurry, I'll finish looting the supermarket and bring you back to see your parents." He didn't answer, just nodded in silent agreement, and we stopped talking. But I could feel his eyes on me occasionally, assessing, curious. Chapter 13. At the city center's big box store, I signaled them all to stay in the truck and not come out no matter what happened. Then I made trip after trip, moving supplies, rice, oil, salt, crackers, instant noodles, instant food, everything. I also grabbed bedding and down jackets. The weather was getting colder, and without heating this year, everyone would have a hard winter. When I loaded the last batch of supplies and returned to the truck, the squad members in the cargo bed stared at me in amazement. "Girl, you're incredible. You moved all these supplies yourself? And zombies don't even bite you." The guy speaking Theo looked about my age. Having him call me girl felt weird. "No big deal," I said, scratching my head and trying not to think about why the zombies left me alone. About what that meant. Buckle up, everyone. We're heading out. Back at the complex, I parked the truck at the entrance and signaled them to get out. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, the first beautiful sunset I'd noticed in months. "There's not a single zombie for miles around. This is safer than the safe zone," Theo said, looking around in wonder at our barricaded fortress. "That's Theo. He's our squad's chatterbox. Don't mind him." Caspian seemed to notice my awkwardness and explained. "This is Marcus, this is Finn, this is Jasper, this is Quinn, and this is Kit." "Oh, thanks for the introduction. Otherwise, I wouldn't know who's who." I looked at him gratefully. Handsome, understanding, and good-tempered, his girlfriend must be so lucky. "Hey girl, I'm Theo. Sorry I didn't introduce myself earlier. I really admire you. You're amazing. Moving all these supplies by yourself, are you feeding an army?" "You're right and wrong. I am feeding people, but it's everyone in this complex, not an army," I explained seriously. "Stop messing with her." Jasper, the only woman in the squad, smacked Theo on the head. "Girl, I respect you. You guys are staying at my place tonight. My house is big enough for you to rest temporarily." I looked at the squad. Caspian could stay with his parents, but the others had nowhere to go. Might as well do a good deed and take them in. Plus, having people around meant I was less likely to wake up at 3 a.m., convinced I was turning into a monster. After settling everyone in my villa, watching them collapse onto couches and beds with relief, I caught Caspian's confused look. "Don't be surprised. Your parents gave it to me." Chapter 14. I brought Caspian to Bea and Arthur's place. When Bea opened the door and saw her son standing there alive, whole, covered in dirt, but breathing, her eyes immediately welled up. "Son, Mom thought you..." "Thought." Bea hugged Caspian and sobbed uncontrollably, her whole body shaking. Arthur's eyes also reddened, but with his son there, he held back his tears, maintaining his manly dignity. Watching them, my eyes grew moist too. My parents. I had no idea how they were doing. Were they somewhere safe? Were they looking at the moon and thinking of me? Or were they? No, I couldn't think like that. The four of us sat at the dining table, each with a self-heating rice box, the chemical smell familiar and almost comforting now staring at each other. Arthur told Caspian how I'd saved them from disaster, then grandly declared that a villa was nothing. Rich people really were something my left eye twitched. "Bea, I told you your son would be blessed." "Ha ha ha. You really are our lucky charm. If only you and our Caspian could." Arthur coughed appropriately. "Well, that depends on whether Lilah's willing. Our boy doesn't deserve her," Bea said, shooting me a meaningful look. Pfft. I nearly spit out my entire mouthful of rice. "Why not?" This time it was Caspian's voice, low and serious. I was stunned. Were all three of them trying to pressure me? And Caspian was this handsome without a girlfriend? "You don't have a girlfriend?" I asked him, shocked. "He's never had one." Bea answered for me, looking at her son with mock disdain. I was worried he didn't like women. "Mom." One look from Caspian, those intense eyes, and Bea shut up. Apparently, she could control Arthur, but not her own son. The air in the room felt suddenly warm, charged. I focused very hard on my rice. Chapter 15. Life went on. After dinner with Bea and the others, I noticed Caspian had followed me out into the hallway, his footsteps quiet behind me. "You're coming to my place too?" Yeah, the aloof man was economical with words. All right. Getting to spend more time with a hottie was pretty nice, even if he made me nervous in ways I couldn't quite explain. "Have you considered getting a solar panel?" Caspian asked me as we walked through the quiet complex. "Huh? I don't know how," I said. I was a slacker, how would I know these things? "There are some in the villa's basement storage. My squad and I can install them for you." Oh, the villa had a basement. The next day, the squad members enthusiastically helped me install 2 solar power units. I was thrilled to finally use my refrigerator and induction cooktop. The hum of electricity felt like a small miracle. Now I could have hot soup and hot meals. But where would I get fresh ingredients? After all this time in the apocalypse, where would I find fresh food? South District Cold Storage Facility. It uses solar power for emergencies like blackouts. There might still be fresh meat there. Caspian's voice chimed in again at just the right moment, as if he could read my mind. "But there are tons of zombies there," Marcus said dramatically, eyes wide. "No problem. Where is it? I'll go myself." I patted Marcus's shoulder, smiling nonchalantly. "Zombies? Please. Not even scared. Lear." I was terrified not of them, but of what they represented. Of what I might become. "I'll go with you." I looked at Caspian questioningly. "You don't know the way. I'll drive." Oh, so he was worried I didn't know the way. I thought you were going to protect me. Sigh aloof guys are never romantic. Ooh, boss is blushing. The squad members teased in unison. "Lilah's so amazing. Boss, if you win her over, you'll be the apocalypse's #1. Jasper teased, grinning. "Exactly. Boss, go for it. 28 years of being single can't stay single anymore," Marcus chimed in. "Yeah, men are like flowers at 28. Lilah, do you have a boyfriend? If not, consider our boss. If you do, break up and consider our boss," Theo said boldly. Everyone shut up. "Yes, boss." But I caught Caspian glancing at me, something warm in his eyes that made my pulse quicken. Chapter 16. Caspian and I set out for the South District Cold Storage Facility, except this time he drove while I sat in the passenger seat. His hands on the wheel were steady, confident soldier's hands. "Caspian, why don't you date?" I couldn't help being curious. "Too much trouble." The aloof man remained economical with words. "Oh." Feeling rejected, I decided not to ask more. "If we encounter lots of zombies, you'll be in trouble." "I'm not afraid of zombies, but you probably can't handle them. So if anything happens, just run and leave me behind. I'll be fine." More than fine. I was one of them now, at least partially. The thought made my stomach turn. Abandon a woman? Lilah, you really underestimate me. This was clearly the best solution. You can't understand a man's logic, especially a gorgeous man's. I stared at Caspian's profile, mesmerized. Had I saved the world in a past life? How could anyone be this good-looking? A 360-degree perfect face, a beautiful voice, and a decent personality. This kind of man only existed in novels and dreams, right? And here I was, a monster pretending to be human, sitting next to perfection itself. Caspian noticed me staring. Do I have something on my face? Oh no, nothing. I just think you're incredibly handsome. I complimented him directly, making Caspian chuckle a low, warm sound that made my heart do funny things. Has anyone ever told you not to stare at a man so directly? Caspian asked, his voice dropping lower. No, why? You might fall hopelessly in love with him. Hearing Caspian's words, my face flushed. Oh my God, how was I supposed to respond to that? And did I dare? Did I dare let myself feel this when I didn't know how long I had before I lost myself? We rode in silence the rest of the way, but it was a comfortable silence, charged with possibility. Arriving at the cold storage facility, a massive gray building covered in frost, I quickly got out and told him not to follow. Stay put and be good. Okay, Caspian glanced at me, something unreadable in his expression. Inside the warehouse, sure enough, the solar power hadn't completely failed. Some freezers were still running normally, their motors humming in the silence. The cold hit me like a wall, frost forming on my eyelashes. Chapter 17. We ended up loading a full truck of frozen meat, beef, pork, chicken, all perfectly preserved. Everything went smoothly and safely. Maybe too smoothly. Life always throws curveballs. Just as Caspian and I loaded the last box of meat onto the truck, I suddenly felt the ground trembling slightly beneath my feet. What's happening? I asked Caspian, confused. Get in the truck now. Caspian quickly closed the door, and I followed suit, my heart hammering. What's going on? Sitting in the passenger seat, I was completely lost. An earthquake? Zombie tide, Caspian explained, his jaw tight. Zombies concentrate heavily here. They probably smell humans and rotting meat from all directions and are heading our way. Damn, they're that sensitive? I checked the rearview mirror. A zombie was running toward us at incredible speed, faster than anything I'd seen. How is it so fast? Maybe it was a marathon runner in its past life? Caspian's attempt at humor fell flat as more zombies appeared. You're joking around at a time like this. First time seeing such a fast zombie, I was scared too. Even with my immunity, being surrounded by hundreds of them was terrifying. It's almost caught up. What do we do? Can't outrun it. Caspian stopped the truck, pulled out his holstered pistol, opened the door and got out. Switch seats, quick. You drive. Watching the approaching zombie horde, a writhing mass of gray flesh and grasping hands, Caspian shot the fastest one right between the eyes. The zombie dropped like a puppet with its strings cut. I didn't have time to admire his marksmanship. I quickly switched positions with him. Caspian, let's go. Caspian put away his gun without engaging further and quickly got into the passenger seat, rolling down the window and leaning halfway out to deal with zombies. Each shot was precise, economical. He'd done this before. What do we do? There are more and more. Looking at the zombie horde in the rearview mirror, dozens, no, hundreds. I shuddered. There were so many. We can't go back the original way. It'll put the complex in danger. Can't kill them all. We'll take the back road. Caspian jerked the steering wheel. In a split second, inertia threw us together. And he cushioned my head with his hand so I wouldn't hit anything. His palm was warm, solid, alive. I stared at him blankly, drowning in those intense eyes. So handsome. Now's not the time to stare at me. When we're safe, I'll let you look your fill. Caspian snapped me back to reality. Oh my God, so embarrassing. Chapter 18. I followed the path Caspian indicated, a quiet, deep forest trail leading who knows where. Trees pressed in on both sides, their branches scraping the truck. Caspian kept shooting backward, shell casings clinking against each other in the passenger footwell, but the zombie footsteps grew fainter. Apparently zombies couldn't turn corners, we'd actually lost them. Caspian smiled and ruffled my hair, the gesture casual, affectionate. Scared? No. No, I'm used to it. Ha ha ha. The unexpected head pat stunned me. Gorgeous men had charm in everything they did, especially men in their prime. Sometimes I really don't think of you as a girl. You're so brave, not weak, not fake, even calmer in emergencies than the women in my unit. Caspian stared at my face, his gaze intense. I bet I was blushing now. If only he knew the truth. That I wasn't brave, I was just already half dead. That zombies didn't scare me because I was becoming one of them. I'm used to it. After all, I have to feed an entire complex of people, I said, scratching my head and turning away before he could see the truth in my eyes. You've worked hard. My parents are lucky to have your care. My nose tingled. Why did I feel like crying? His kindness made it worse, somehow made me more aware of what I was hiding. Ha ha ha, you still haven't told me how you knew about this path. I tried to lighten the overly intimate atmosphere. It felt like a boyfriend returning from a business trip comforting his girlfriend, like he'd say any second. Lilah, it's been so long, hasn't it? This is where I loved playing as a kid. I grew up here. I see. I only moved here 2 years ago, so I'm not familiar with the area. Lucky we had the home field advantage. Caspian stopped talking, watching the rearview mirror alertly. I stopped talking too, and we peacefully made our way back to the complex through the forest path, dappled sunlight filtering through the leaves. Caspian and I tacitly didn't mention what happened in the truck, but the atmosphere had shifted subtly. Something had changed between us, something fragile and new that I was afraid to examine too closely. The squad members and I started cutting the cold meat, counting supplies, then distributing them by floor to each building's ground floor entrance. What usually took half a day took just an hour today. Many hands really did make light work. Chapter 19. After distributing supplies, we made a huge pot of rice and used the induction cooktop to make a big pot of hot beef soup. The smell filled the villa rich, savory home. We hadn't had hot food in months. Today's chef was Mr. Caspian Castellano. As the hot, steaming food was served, broth shimmering with fat, vegetables tender, beef falling apart, the squad members and I were all eyes. Boss, you're amazing. I don't know who'll be lucky enough to get you someday. Marcus praised, already reaching for a bowl. Exactly, Theo agreed, mouth full. Come on, you guys just know how to kiss boss's ass. Eating can't even shut you up. Jasper looked at them disdainfully, but she was smiling. All right, everyone, let's eat. It smells so good. I stepped in to mediate. These squad members were hilarious. Everyone wolfed down the food. We hadn't eaten hot meals in months, our eyes were getting moist. During the apocalypse with scarce resources, today's table of hot food was precious. I ate slowly, trying to savor it, trying to feel human. Lilah, come with me to see my parents. Caspian patted my shoulder after we'd finished. Looking at the squad's knowing expressions, eyebrows waggling, grins spreading, my face turned red against my will. At Bea and Arthur's place, they were actually grilling beef skewers on the balcony with a lighter, charcoal, and alcohol blocks. The smoke rose in lazy spirals, carrying the smell of char and spice. There really were hidden talents everywhere. The older generation knew how to live. I shamelessly ate a bunch, the meat crispy on the outside, juicy inside, almost good enough to make me forget what I was. During the meal, Caspian and Arthur went into another room to talk about something, and both came out looking troubled. Arthur's face pale, Caspian's jaw set. Bea and I asked them what was wrong, but they wouldn't say. After the barbecue, I went back to the villa alone. Bea and Arthur kept Caspian at their place, and I tried not to feel disappointed. What were they talking about so mysteriously? I was confused, but decided not to overthink it. When the squad members saw me return alone, they asked where Caspian was. I said he was at his parents' place, they probably missed him. They didn't ask anything more, but I caught them exchanging glances. Chapter 20. The next morning, Caspian still hadn't returned. The squad and I distributed supplies as usual. I felt something was off, a tension in the air. On the 5th day, Caspian came back. He'd been called back on a mission. Headquarters had assigned a new task their squad needed to immediately head to K-City to rescue survivors. We hadn't spent much time together, but I developed deep feelings for them. I was reluctant to see them go, and especially reluctant about Caspian. He'd just returned and was already leaving. So dangerous. I didn't want them to go, but they were soldiers. Protecting people was their duty. I couldn't stop them from saving others. The country mattered more than individuals. Lilah, we'll all miss you. I hope we can meet again someday. Jasper hugged me, her tears soaking my clothes, her body shaking. Someday, when would that be? Would we ever meet again? Would I still be me? Caspian approached me with a dark expression and hugged me tightly, his warmth, his heartbeat against my chest, the human aliveness of him. If we can meet again, My tears suddenly fell. Don't say it. Because if he said it, I'd have to admit I felt the same. And what if I couldn't keep that promise? What if the next time he saw me, I was mindless and hungry? I hugged him back, breathing in the scent of his soap and gunpowder, and something uniquely Caspian. I'd held it in for so long but still cried. How embarrassing. I understand. I'll wait for you to come back. Salute. Caspian let me go, and the squad stood in a straight line, saluting me with military precision. Though these days were brief, I'd been truly happy. They were about to face danger, and I really didn't want them to go. You must come back safely. They didn't have much to pack. The preparation time was short. They left without even eating dinner. Now the villa was empty again, just me alone. A bit lonely, but I could manage. I'd been alone before. In the following days, I continued my routine moving supplies, delivering food, drinks, and clothing. The work kept me busy, kept me from thinking. Time gradually passed, dulling my longing for the squad. I still worried about them, occasionally remembering our time together during meals, thinking how Caspian's cooking was so much better than mine, remembering when he left, he'd hugged me and said, "If we can meet again." I shouldn't have stopped him from speaking. I really want to know what he was going to say. Or was I just being presumptuous? I muttered to myself in the empty villa. Circles jumped onto me, gave me a disdainful kick with her back leg, then jumped away. Circles. I was furious. Even my cat was judging me. Chapter 21. Life continued. The weather gradually turned colder, frost on windows, breath fogging, the kind of cold that sank into bones. Caspian had taught me how to install solar panels, so I later installed one for every building. It could only guarantee basic cooking electricity, no AC or space heaters. It felt a bit like dorm life now, but my life was still comfortable. After all, I lived in a big villa with plenty of supplies. I moved Bea and Arthur in too. They couldn't handle the cold without heating or AC. They'd eventually catch a cold. During the apocalypse, getting sick was the scariest thing, so I had them move in together. First, my place had a separate solar panel that could run AC. Second, we'd look after each other. More accurately, Bea and Arthur took care of me. I hadn't cooked in 3 months. Yes, they'd been gone for 3 months. The weather kept getting colder. I spent several days getting bedding, down jackets, sheets, and blankets for all the complex residents. I also raided a supermarket for heating pads, hoping everyone could get through this time, hoping the pandemic would end soon, hoping they and he would all be safe. "Sweetheart, dinner!" Arthur called me, taking off his apron. "Coming," I replied, trying to sound cheerful. Today we had lamb soup, rich and fatty, and braised ribs. Ugh, no vegetables. We'd been eating meat straight for 3 months. I missed the crunch of fresh lettuce, the sweetness of tomatoes. Arthur and Bea really treated me like their own daughter, feeding me all the rich foods. I felt like my cheeks had gotten rounder over these 3 months. Sigh. Would I turn into a dumpling before Caspian even came home? But late at night, I'd wake up and check my reflection. Still pale, still amber-eyed, still me. How much longer? Chapter 22. Time passed, 2 more years went by. Still no news of my parents or whether we'd ever see each other again. The not knowing was worse than grief somehow. No news of Caspian and the other squad members either. They'd vanished like they'd evaporated, never returning. Today was my birthday, and exactly 3 years since the pandemic started. 3 years ago, my parents were still by my side celebrating with me. I'd blown out candles and made a wish for a boyfriend. Be careful what you wish for, I guess. At 5 p.m., after exhaustedly delivering all the supplies, I came home to find Bea and Arthur had prepared a huge cake. Arthur's skills kept improving too bad, Caspian couldn't enjoy it. I ate it all, the frosting sweet and artificial on my tongue. Thanks to all the daily climbing and physical activity from deliveries, I hadn't gotten fat. Looking at them, I couldn't smile. I should be happy, but thinking about how the apocalypse had lasted 3 years with no end, thinking about how the squad and my parents were still missing, I couldn't be happy. I forced a smile and sat at the table, eating the cake in big bites so Bea and Arthur wouldn't worry. The sugar felt wrong in my mouth. Too sweet, too human. "This child, you haven't made a wish yet." Bea smacked my head affectionately. "Exactly. Sweetheart, what do you want? Tell me. I'll give you everything. Villa, gold bars, jewelry, accessories, whatever you want." Arthur was as generous as ever. You call me sweetheart and I call you sir? What kind of generation gap is this? I laughed through my tears. You call me sir now, but maybe not later. Like this world is the apocalypse now, but it won't be forever. This cake is cake, but inside might be bread. Your analogies make no sense. If you can't talk sense, don't talk. Bea smacked Arthur fondly. Knock, knock, knock. A knocking sound. I looked through the peephole. Humans. A group of humans, all complex residents. I opened the door. A man around 40 held an exquisite small box, smiling sheepishly. His eyes were damp. Our savior, this is a jade bracelet my family bought 10 years ago. It's your birthday today. We've been hiding in the complex for 3 years without you. We'd be dead. We didn't dare go downstairs the first 2 years, and later you stopped delivering upstairs, so we couldn't give this to you personally. This year, if we don't come down, we'd have to wait another year. Please accept this. My family and I sincerely thank you. Chapter 23. After giving his gift, the man quickly jogged back home. Breaking curfew was still risky. Then, the people behind him squeezed forward to give gifts, earrings, jewelry, fur coats, lipstick, perfume, supplements, wine, car keys, property deeds. Everyone came with the most sincere gratitude, giving gifts. Nobody felt it was too expensive. They all felt they weren't giving enough. Thank you. Without your medicine delivery, my wife would have died last year. Thank you so much. Without you, how would our family survive? Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Our whole family prays at the shrine daily for your peace and safety. Happy birthday. As if they'd planned it, they all risked their lives coming downstairs just to give me birthday gifts, say thanks, and wish me happy birthday. Their faces glowed in the dim emergency lighting, beautiful with gratitude. My eyes grew moist. During the apocalypse, the people I protected were also accompanying me with full hearts of gratitude. Even in the apocalypse, humanity endured. Bea hugged me, helping me receive the packages of gifts. After the last person left a grandmother who pressed a gold locket into my hands, we went back inside. Everyone is really so kind. I sighed, staring at the pile of gifts. I didn't deserve this. I was a monster masquerading as a hero. Then I noticed Arthur had disappeared. While looking for him, he came running downstairs with an armful of red property booklets. Sweetheart, I have over 20 properties. Pick whichever ones you like, choose 5. I won't let outsiders give you more than our family. Pfft, I nearly spat out my rice. How could they not? Our boy doesn't deserve her, Bea said, but she was smiling. Arthur always made life feel interesting. Chapter 24. That night, I tossed and turned in bed, unable to sleep. The sheets were tangled around my legs, my pillow too warm. I missed my parents, missed every squad member, missed him. Longing always erupted at night. 3 years had passed, and no matter how much I smiled through the day or how strong I was, I'd still break down at night. And the fear. Always the fear. What if I woke up tomorrow and couldn't remember their faces? What if the humanity drained out of me bit by bit until I was just another monster? Knock, knock, knock. Come in. I wiped away my tears, but my voice still trembled. Bea quietly closed the door. She didn't turn on the light, sitting on my bed. Her presence was warm, maternal. Lilah, I know you miss your parents. I understand. Your mother and I are probably about the same age, so I came to talk to you. Don't find me annoying. These 3 years have been hard on you. You've sacrificed so much for all of us. Today, I want to talk to you as a mother. Go ahead, Bea. I sat up, grateful for the darkness that hid my face. That day, Caspian brought you to our place, actually. He told Arthur that he liked you. He thought you were independent, strong, and brave. You had many qualities other girls didn't. Arthur was very, very satisfied with you, but Caspian had military duties. Every day during the apocalypse, he was on missions, walking on a knife's edge. Arthur felt he didn't deserve you, that being with you would just hold you back. Later, Caspian compromised. Arthur noticed you also had feelings for Caspian, so he kept Caspian at home, preventing you two from seeing each other again, afraid your feelings would deepen. These 3 years, you've still had feelings for Caspian, haven't you? I choked up. I finally understood why this man I'd barely spent time with could already affect my emotions. People say it takes a year to get over heartbreak, but I hadn't even started 3 years later. I still hadn't moved on. And now I knew he'd felt the same way. All this time, we'd been kept apart not by distance, but by Arthur's well-meaning interference. Chapter 25. Seeing my silent acknowledgement, Bea continued. Ultimately, the apocalypse kept you apart. If there'd been no apocalypse, how wonderful it would have been we'd give you the grandest wedding. We've long considered you our own daughter. We like you more than Caspian. I hugged Bea and cried. 3 years saying I had no pressure would be a lie. Supplies were dwindling. First I went to the south side of the city, then west. Now I was scavenging in the east. Supplies would last maybe 3 more years. After that, if the pandemic didn't end, people would starve. Then I'd have to go to neighboring cities, leaving at dawn, returning at night. What would I do then? I had pressure but couldn't say anything. I was everyone's hope for survival. If I lost heart, everyone would fall apart. And what if I lost myself first? What if the zombie in me finally won? Caspian has never liked anyone else from childhood to now. I can guarantee he won't fall for someone else. Except you. We don't accept anyone. Nobody else is qualified to enter our family. I thought about it and decided to tell you secretly behind Arthur's back. After all, what we hope most is for you to truly become part of our household registry. If the apocalypse ends, if Caspian is alive, if you still like him, Lilah, will you marry him? The question hung in the air. Marriage. A future. As if I could have such things. But looking at Bea's hopeful face, I couldn't say no. Maybe I was being selfish. Maybe I should protect Caspian from what I was becoming. But wedding gift, $888,880, plus house and car. We don't want any dowry, not a penny. We won't live with you. Deal. Parental arrangement. Traditional matchmaking last night I impulsively agreed to Bea. This morning at breakfast, Bea looked at me even more affectionately, like I was already her certain daughter-in-law. After breakfast, I went out to scavenge supplies again, trying not to think about promises I might not be able to keep. Who knew when the apocalypse would end? Chapter 26. Day after day, the same routine, the same repetition. In the blink of an eye, 5 years had passed. 5 full years since the zombie outbreak. Big Circles had reached middle age, getting fatter and more sedentary, a chonky 25 pounds now. Our vegetable crops had been harvested over and over. Now every household could eat potato stew. I'd gradually gotten used to this life. Bea and Arthur's companionship over these 5 years had filled the role of my parents. When I broke down at night, they comforted, encouraged, and supported me. Over the past 2 years, I'd received countless expensive birthday gifts every year. Complex residents seemed to have agreed on it every year on my birthday. They'd risk coming downstairs to give me gifts. Then a military unit arrived, led by Marcus. He looked older, harder, but his grin was the same. He told us zombies in all regions were under control. Now only small areas had dense zombie activity. Humanity had hope for tomorrow. He took my blood sample for vaccine research, the needle sliding into my pale skin, drawing out blood that looked almost normal. I also asked about the other squad members. Boss got promoted even more responsibility, even busier. Our squad has been everywhere these years, faced lots of danger, got injured, bled, but we all made it through. Once, Boss got hit by falling rocks trying to save me. He was unconscious for half a month with a high fever, and all he said was your name, Lilah. He kept repeating, Lilah, wait for me. Fortunately, we all lived, we all made it. My heart clenched. He'd been hurt. He'd been unconscious. And he'd thought of me. As long as you're alive. As long as you're alive. Hearing Caspian was safe put my mind at ease. Most importantly, after 5 years, everyone was still alive. And I was still me, still conscious, still fighting. Chapter 27. Later, Marcus's team killed all the zombies within a 10-mile radius. Our complex was declared safe for outdoor activity within a 5-kilometer range. To ensure everyone's safety, I became the complex's head supervisor. I told everyone they absolutely couldn't make loud noises. Zombies had keen hearing and smell. No shouting or crying, especially families with children. Another year passed like this. One morning, just as I was about to harvest chives from the garden, the green shoots crisp and fresh. Several military vehicles stopped at our entrance. The first person out was Caspian then. My parents. Alive. Real. Caspian ran over and hugged me tightly, lifting me off my feet. I'm back. You're finally back. I cried tears of joy, hugging him back tightly, feeling his heartbeat, his warmth, his life. I'm back. I still owe you something. I love you. Will you be my girlfriend? What girlfriend? Lilah already promised me that if you came back and she still liked you, she'd marry into our family and become our daughter-in-law. Bea chimed in from the side, beaming. Ridiculous. We're only gone 6 years and Lilah, you've already married yourself off. My parents rushed to me, Mom crying, Dad trying not to, and I hugged them both, breathing in their familiar scents. In-laws, calm down. Let's talk inside. Wedding gift. $888,880. Sounds good? Let's discuss. I think this young man is great he saved us during his mission, or we'd be dead. Hearing the wedding gift amount, my father beamed. Dad, what's wrong with you? Selling your daughter? Nonsense. I'm moved by this young man's sincerity. My father spoke righteously. You're not young anymore. 6 years of apocalypse, and this kid still thought of you. We approve too. Exactly. Our family's wedding gift is generous. Lilah absolutely won't lose out being with our Caspian. Bea agreed. Caspian pulled me close, smiling softly. His hand found mine, fingers intertwining. Long time no see, my future wife. Long time no see. It really had been so long. A full 6 years. Later, when everyone had gone inside, I pulled him aside. My hands were shaking. Caspian, I need to tell you something. Before you, before we. I looked at my pale hands, my amber eyes reflected in the window. I'm not fully human anymore. The bite changed me. I don't know if I'll stay like this forever, or if one day I'll lose myself completely. You deserve to know. And Offensic. He looked at me for a long moment, then cupped my face in his hands. Lilah, I've been in war zones for 6 years. I've seen things that would break most people. I've killed, I've bled, I've watched friends die. None of us are the same as we were before this started. None of us will ever be fully normal again. Whatever you've become, you've used it to save hundreds of people. You've kept your humanity when it would have been easier to lose it. That's all I need to know. He kissed my forehead. Besides, I've always had a thing for dangerous women. I laughed through my tears. You're an idiot. You're idiot, apparently. Chapter 28. The 6-year apocalyptic disaster had reduced the domestic population to 100 million, the world population to 500 million. But at least humanity had survived this ordeal. 6 years ago, the first zombie appeared. 6 years later, the antidote serum was successfully developed using my blood and blood from several others like me, and the last zombie died. The country finally returned to normal. Though everything needed rebuilding, people could finally walk openly in sunlight, sleep peacefully at night without worrying about sudden attacks. Complex residents began shopping normally. Prices skyrocketed at first, then the government issued decrees forcing prices down, sparing ordinary people from unbearable hardship. Because of blood serum samples from me and several others who'd been bitten but didn't mutate, the country developed an antidote in just 1 year. The government wanted to award me an honorary medal. I declined because I was too lazy to go get it. The next day, Caspian personally drove it over to me. You're a national hero, and you can't even be bothered to accept your medal properly? He teased. I'm a slacker at heart. You should know this by now. Now I lived with my parents and Caspian's parents. As the saying goes, having 1 elder at home brings joy, having 4 elders, even more joy. Listening to both sets of parents urging marriage every day, Caspian and I were getting calluses in our ears. I was still young. When I met Caspian, I was only 22, and he was 28. Now I was 28, and Caspian was 34. No wonder the 4 elders were anxious they wanted grandchildren, but I didn't want kids so soon. Finally, because Bea, Arthur, and my parents pushed too hard, Caspian and I went to the Civil Affairs Bureau on May 20th, the year after the apocalypse ended, and got our marriage license. Walking out of the bureau, marriage certificate in hand, Caspian took my hand. Finally, my wife. Aren't you afraid I'll abandon you? I joked. He leaned down and kissed me gently, right there on the street in the sunlight. You waited 6 years for me. How could you abandon me? Annoying. But I kissed him back, tasting sunshine and hope, and the future we'd fought so hard to reach. The following year, we held a grand, magnificent wedding. Because of the apocalypse, many relatives couldn't be reached, perhaps they were gone. But complex neighbors all came. Since it was an upscale complex and everyone had received so much help from me during the apocalypse, everyone gave extremely generous monetary gifts. When I called Arthur Dad at the head table, his eyes turned red. I told you I consider you my daughter. You've always been family. You're my own daughter. A few drinks and you're talking nonsense. This is our actual daughter-in-law, Bea scolded. Can't you behave at such an important occasion? Thank you watching. I follow we can try to brinks to this vaterteliative extans. Bea, I don't want my son anymore. From now on, I just have a daughter and son-in-law. That won't work, in-law. I still want my daughter. My dad joined in the chaos, and I laughed, watching them argue over me. Lilah, why aren't they fighting over me? Caspian asked, arm around my shoulders, watching these four treasures arguing over me with red faces. Probably because you're not as charming as me. I grinned at him like an idiot. Naturally. Caspian kissed me, right there in front of everyone, and the guests cheered. Because you're so charming that I've been thinking of you for 6 whole years. I thought of you for 6 years too. Oh, how much did you think of me? Super much. Later that night, after the guests had gone and we were alone in our new home, the villa, renovated and beautiful, I stood at the window looking out at the complex. Lights glowed in every building, families reunited, life resuming. Caspian came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. What are you thinking about? Just, I'm glad we made it, all of us. Me too. He rested his chin on my shoulder. Though I have to ask, are you still worried about, you know? I looked at my reflection in the window. Still pale, still amber-eyed, but human where it counted in my heart, in my choices, in my love. Sometimes, I admitted, but a wise man once told me that none of us are the same as we were before. We're all changed, and that's okay. Wise man sounds like a genius. End quote. He has his moments. We stood there in comfortable silence, watching the world we'd saved continue to live and breathe and heal. Outside, circles meowed loudly, demanding dinner. Your cat is calling you. Our cat, I corrected. You married into this family. She's your problem now too. Best decision I ever made, Caspian said, and kissed me again. And in that moment, standing in the home we'd fought for, with the man I loved, knowing my parents were safe and our community was thriving, I finally believed it. The apocalypse was over. We had survived, and we were going to be okay. The end.